What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new documentary on people who are obsessed with pedicures. Now, in today's video, we're going to be going over Docker, creating a Docker file, the images. And I want to start off with Docker because I want to set up my application. If you're starting off if you're starting into this cloud native world, you're going to want to do everything starting with Docker, right? You want to separate all your environments in a container, your development container, your testing container, your debugging container, whatever, your production container, it doesn't matter. You want to do it all with Docker and have those containers already there. So that way, once something happens, it's no longer GitHub, guys. It is no longer GitHub no more, all right? In the cloud native world, there's no GitHub. Well, there is obviously, but I'm just saying you're going to be using Docker Hub more often than GitHub because everything is going to be containerized, right? So this is why we're starting off with Docker, and we're going to be creating a development and debug container or an image. We're going to be creating a development debug image. We're going to be creating a production image, and we're going to have our simple, default Docker image or app image, right? So that's what we're going to be doing in this video, creating 3 images for 3 different scenarios: development, our default, and production. But before we get into the nitty gritty stuff, I do want to say a couple of things related to Docker. And that is, if I open up my Docker application, or I forgot what this is called, honestly. What the hell is this called? I don't know. Anyways, if you open up your Docker settings and go to settings, go to resources, and down below in your disk image location, I just want you to notice what drive this is in. So right now, this disk image location is in drive C. This is very important, and the reason why I say it's important is because we're going to be mapping some things from our local host to the Docker container. All right, so since this Docker container lives in the C, is going to be living in the C drive, I want my application to be in the C drive. Whatever application you're going to be messing around with, you want that application to be in the C drive, okay? And the reason why I say this is because when it comes down to mapping, sharing data, and if you have your application in the D drive and you're trying to share data somewhere in the C drive, Docker's not going to figure that out. Obviously, it's not going to connect the points. You have to add a little bit more command. You have to get complex with your commands with Docker, which I don't want to get into in this video. So it would just be it would be best if you just put your application in the same drive your disk image location is at right now, okay? Mine is in the C drive, so I'm going to be doing everything in the C drive. My application is going to be in the C drive as well. Also, we're going to be using this cloud native project, right? Like I said in the beginning, we're going to be using this to create our cloud, or to begin our cloud native journey. And down below, if you go to down Docker right here, this is where we're going to start off. So if you go view on GitHub, you're going to see all the steps necessary to build out your default Docker, your development and debugging image, and your production image. All right, these are all the steps to build out those images, and I'm gonna go over those with you guys. Okay. Another thing is that we're going to be using wget. All right, so you need to install this command on your OS because it's not, by default, it's not in there. So just install it. It's very, very easy. Windows, you're probably going to just search up install wget on Windows. All right, for Mac, wget on Mac. For Linux, for Linux, it's just just install wget and it'll do it. All right. Anyways, let's get right into it. All right. So first of all, I have my application. You should have your application. Let me get out of all these things. You should have your application, in the C drive, which I do. And this is literally just the server boilerplate application. All right. I just renamed it to Cloud Native. There's nothing different. The routes are the same. You can look at this homepage. Let me actually get rid of this because homepage, control save. We have our users index, all that stuff. It's the same thing as the server boilerplate. I just renamed it to Cloud Native. Okay. And also have a PowerShell running as administrator inside of that the folder. right? So in this case, I have it inside my Cloud Native folder, which contains all the files. All right, and I do want to show you one thing before we start. Images. I don't have any images. I don't have any, Docker. I don't have any containers running, nor do I have, we're going to be messing with volumes as well, but I'm going to show you that I don't have volumes. I don't have any volumes as well. So my Docker is clear. I don't have anything. All right. So this is a fresh start. So that way we could all do this. If we run into problems, I'm going to run into the problem as well. All right, let's get right into it. This is going to be somewhat of a long video, okay? Just letting you know. All right, first things first, we're going to be using some files that they already have. This is why it's, they're templates. We're going to be using their templates, and we need to download some of their templates. There's two ways of doing this. One way is the wget, like I said, and the reason why I'm doing it this way is because I want to take it one step at a time, so that way you know exactly how to use this Docker project, okay? From now on, when I say Docker project, I'm referring to this GitHub page for Docker, okay? Okay, so, yeah, there's two ways. wget, because I want to show you step by step, and the other way is literally just cloning this whole thing, or, downloading this whole thing, which is going to give you all these files. Because basically, we are going to be using all the files. Literally all the files except for README and the license. None of those, but every single one of these, we're going to be using it in this video. So, like I said, if you don't want to just do the wget, just grab the whole thing and just move that file over when you need to. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is get the Docker file. This is just a default Docker file for building and running your Node.Js application. This is the way we've been doing it anyway. So let's just grab this Docker file. So let's copy this command. Copy it, go into our PowerShell. Remember, make sure you're inside your folder that you want. Paste that in, and we're going to replace this file with the actual file that we want to get from GitHub, from the GitHub repo, which is called Docker file. So Docker file. All right. One thing to note for Windows users, you do have to add this extra bit of code, capital O out file like this, and name it whatever you want, which is we want to name it Docker file. For Linux and Mac, you could just literally run this code and it should just give you a Docker file directly out there. If I didn't have this right here for Windows, let me actually show you guys. If I didn't have this, I would literally just grab the information of that Docker file, right? It'll just give me the contents, the raw content, forms, headers, and all that. This is not what I want. I want it to, store it in here. So what I need to do is say out file and then Docker file. And look at that. You saw that appear, right? You saw that. It appears, right? So I'm not going to be talking about like what this does because that's in my Docker series. I will have that in the description. So check that out if you don't know what it is, because there's a lot of things I'm not going to be going over because we've done it before or I've talked about it before. All right. So I will tell you this, for a Docker file, every time we run this command, it's going to read from top to bottom, right? So I'm just letting you know. All right, control save. Well, we didn't control save it. Don't know why I did that. All right, next thing we need to get is the Docker ignore. We just want to have that right off the bat. So erase this. This is where Windows gets very annoying. Docker ignore, and then over here as well. Docker ignore. And now we have a .docker ignore, which ignores some of the things, which is redundant, right? All right. Now that we have this image, let's go back to that Docker project. Now that we have the image, we could actually build now that we have that Docker file, now we could build an image using that Docker file. So I'm going to just copy this right here, building the Docker image for your application. Let's copy this. And then over here, let's clear this out. Paste this sucker in. All right, so Docker build is a command to build an image. -T is for tagging an image, and we want to tag it. Basically, this is going to be the name of the image. For mine, I'm going to say node server. I want to name it node server. I want to tag it node server. So that's what I'm going to do, right? -F is basically saying what Docker file do you want to use to build this image. And we want to use literally the Docker file. You might be saying, well, duh, you're stupid. Obviously, right? The thing is, you could have multiple Docker files. And if you go back to the Docker project, you're going to see that we have 3 Docker files, right? Even though they're named differently, like -run, -tools, these are still Docker files. Look at this. They're still Docker files, right? So we just need to specify which Docker file we actually wanted to run. I'm just letting you know because we're going to be using this -F, a few times. So right now I'm naming my image node server, and we're going to be building an image using the Docker file. And we're going to be building the image of this current directory, which is all this crap in here. So let's hit enter. This might take some time, so I will come back when it's done. All right, it's done. Let me clear this out. Now if I do Docker images, you're going to see we're going to have 2 images. Obviously node 10 is from because we're using the node 10 image. And we have our image, the one we just built, the node server image, right? Now our application is stored in this node server, and we could run it. Let's go back to the Docker project. We could run it by saying down here, running the Docker image. Just copy this, go right here, paste it, and we're not going to be running this. We're going to be running node server. And there he goes. Now it's listening. Let's go back over here. Let's go to localhost 3000. And there you go. Homepage. It's working. We're running our image we're running our application from a Docker container, which is awesome, right? Cool. This is nothing different. This is nothing new, but this is where it starts getting excited, because now the next step in our Docker project is grabbing or using the Docker tools file, right? The Docker file tools. Now this Docker file tools, basically what this Docker file does is going to give us a way to run our application in a container in a development mode and also a debug mode, all right here, right? You can read everything that it does, but basically this Docker file, we're going to create an image, and that image is going to be used for development mode and also for a debug mode. All right. So this Docker file tool does use the run debug script and the run dev script. So we're going to need to, pull from this GitHub the Docker file tools, the debug and dev. So let's go back to our command, Control C to get out of that, clear, and go back to wget. All right. I'm logging off for the day. Have a good weekend, bro. We'll chat on Monday. Hold on. Sorry, I was talking to one of my workers, or not workers, one of my co-workers. Anyways, like I said, we need that Docker file -tools, and also for Windows, it's yay like this, Docker file -tools. All right, now we have that Docker files tools. We also need the run dev, run -dev, run -dev, and we also need the debug bug. All right, so if you go back to our application, you're gonna see that we have Docker file tools, awesome, and we also have the run debug and the run dev scripts. Now we do need to make some changes in these scripts because it's saying that our application runs on server-server.js, which it doesn't, right? If you go to package.json, it actually runs on bin/run. So I'm gonna copy this, go to run dev, and just /bin run. Now we're just telling our run dev is saying that look, it comments right here, right? Simple shell script to run application in dev mode. All right, awesome. Our debug, obviously we need to do the same thing right here. Change it in here. Control D. There we go. All right, one thing I do want to say for the run debug is that it does run using the node inspector, which is Node's inbuilt debugger. I just wanted to let you know. That is it. All right. So if you don't know what debug is or anything like that, just look it up. It's very simple. If people that actually do debug their applications using the debug inspector or Node's debugger, then this is great. All right. If you don't, then you don't even have to worry about this, really. All right. Anyways, so those are the two changes that we wanted to make. Next up, we do need to build an image using this Docker Files tools. So let's go back to our Docker project down below. Where is it at? Docker tool. All right, here's the image, Docker build, copy right here, paste it. Obviously, I'm not going to be calling mine Node.Js. We're going to be calling it Node server, and I'm just add this dash tools so that way I know that this is the dash tools image. All right. So, and we're going to be using the file Docker file tools, obviously. Node server. Okay. Hit enter, and this should be building out an image. You know what? I'm gonna just wait with you guys. I don't even know. I'm gonna just wait with you guys. You know what? Screw it. I'll come back. Wait, it's almost done. It's almost done. I know it for a fact. It's almost done. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. There it is. There it is. All right. Let's. Oh my God. All right. Here we go. All right, now that we have an image, let's go back to the Docker project. And next up, all right, here it is. Here's how you have to run our develop, or here's how to run development mode using this Docker image. All right. So the first step right here is it's kind of confusing. Okay, it is kind of confusing because this is one thing I did not go over my Docker series. Let's just copy this and paste it over here, and I will talk about it. I will talk about this one. All right. So what this is doing is that we're going to be copying our package.json file and then copy that to the container, and then it does an npm install to create the package dependencies inside the container. So if you hit enter right here, all right, sorry, for Windows, god damn it, man, I really hate Windows. For Windows, get rid of that. Get rid of the code. Dude, for me, this is one thing people are going to be like, what are you doing if you're a Windows user? For me, I have to add these curly braces. For Windows, you need to add these curly braces. Or for me, you could literally do it like this. But for some reason, Windows, it does not work for me. I know for a fact you could do it like this. But for Windows, for me anyways, I need to add these curly braces. So instead of these quotations right here, just add these curly braces and you should be set. For Mac and Linux, you could just literally do that and be done with it. But this is going to take some time, so I will come back to you when it's done. Okay, now that it's done, we could actually run our image, or run now in development mode. Run the Docker Tools image as interactive application. So let's do that right here. Grab this, copy it, right here. We'll clear this out. Insert this. And we're not going to be doing the my Node applications. It's actually called Node Server. Just make sure Node Server dash tools, and that PWD. Make sure for Windows, For me, the curly braces, you probably don't even have to add the curly braces. Just get rid of the quotes. All right. So again, right here, let me actually show you what's going on. This Docker run p whatever, this is nothing different. This dash v right here, this is where it's actually different. Okay, basically we're mounting, we're copying, and also linking our current directory to the app directory in the container, and also we're also linking our current directory modules to the apps or to the containers node modules. So basically what it's doing is just linking these two things together, so that way if we do any changes, it'll automatically save those changes to the Docker container. And you'll see that in play once we run this. And look at this, it's actually running the dev script. Remember, any commands that you enter right here is going to be running in the Docker container, not your local machine. So this right here is actually grabbing it from the run dev script in the Docker container. If you go to Docker file tools, you'll see why has it frozen. Come on, man, don't do this to me. There we go. So in the Docker file tools, as you can see, we're copying the run dev, our run dev right here, this file right here, we're copying that into the /bin. Now you can see why it's /bin, because this is running in the container. So anyways, if you hit enter right here, there we go, it's starting it up. And we could actually go to the internet now, and let's go to localhost 3000 homepage. But check this out, if we make any changes inside the localhost application, let's go to routes, index, homepage, linked to Docker container. If we control save this now let's go to the internet or to our app and refresh it right now. Look at this, check that out, pretty cool, right? Now our application in our local host is linked to the Docker container. Anything that we do locally is going to be saved in the Docker container, and obviously you can see it right here, which is pretty cool, right? It's awesome, man. It's awesome. All right, so this was for the development mode. Now let's run the debug mode, which is very, very simple. Let's control C this to get out of it. And all you have to do is, instead of dev, it's going to be debug. Now there is one thing we do need to do, and since debug uses, like I said, the node inspector, it uses a port 9229. All right, so we do need to expose that. So -- expose 9229, and also I want to not right here. After the I, you want to -- expose, and I want to also map our ports 9229, my localhost 9229, to the Docker containers 9229. All right. Now that we have this, ooh, what happened? Oh, I want to expose 9229. There you go. All right, now that we have to wait for a bit, and this is for debug, guys. So if you don't know what debug is, you could probably skip a little bit ahead, but there it is. Now it's working, and Chrome actually does offer you a inspect mode. So if you go to Chrome // inspect, you do have to wait a while because Chrome is trying to detect if there's an application in debug mode. So it will show up right here in a bit. There it is right there. You saw that? It detected. Now we could actually inspect it and inspect our application using the dev tools, which is pretty cool, right? It's very, very cool. But this is for debug. Not that many people know about debugging or using the node inspector tool or node debugger. So don't worry about it if you do not know what's going on. But if you do, look, check this out. It's pretty cool, right? All right. The last image that we're going to be doing is the production image. All right. So let's go back over here. And this is going to be using the Docker file run. So we do need to grab that. So let's get out of debug mode. Control C, clear. All right, let's go to wget again. All right. Docker file / run, right? That's what it was called. Docker file, yeah. Docker file run. And then over here, Docker file - run. And we have it right here. Now, this is one that I do want to talk about, this image right here, Docker. I do want to talk about this image right here because this is a little bit more complicated, okay? Now, the crucial difference between this one and the others is that it has a second from statement, all right? So this one uses from Node 10 and then it uses Node 10 Slim. This is called a two-stage build where the first one creates and installs our dependencies, and then it copies to our second image build, which then builds and runs that, okay? So you might be wondering, why do we need to do it in two stages? Why couldn't we just use one? Well, like I said, the crucial thing about this is the Node 10 Slim. This Node 10 Slim doesn't contain common packages that this Node 10 does. such as npm and more packages, but that doesn't really matter. You should need to know that it does not contain that many packages, a lot of packages that Node 10 does. And that's what makes this image, the Node 10 Slim, significantly smaller than the Node 10, just because it doesn't have all those extra baggage to worry about. Also, it doesn't contain a compiler, which means that it's more secure. So let me actually just walk this through. So this gives Node 10 the image. It uses the Node 10 image, and it starts installing updates in the OS that doesn't really care about. It copies the package.json. It installs all the dependencies in the package.json, and then we get to the second stage, which uses the 10 Slim. It switches to the work directory app/app. It runs all the updates for that OS, and then what it's doing right here is actually copying all the Node modules. Like I said, this 10 Slim doesn't contain that npm, right? So that npm had to be done in the first stage. Now what it's doing is literally just copying all the Node modules that the first stage did, is copying that to the second stage, which is this image right here. And now it starts running it from the second stage, which is really good. It's because it's running it from the Node 10 Slim, which doesn't carry all those unnecessary packages. We don't need them no more. We already use npm up above to grab all those dependencies, and down below, all we're doing is just using those dependencies without needing the npm library. Okay, so now you know why it's done, why this is done in a two-stage build or in two steps. So let's actually build the image. So down below right here, this is how we can build it. Copy this, paste it, and obviously rename it to Node Server. Just trying to keep it consistent. Node Server, building it, and there we go. While that's doing that, let's go down and let's actually run it. Copy this. But before we run it, I do want to show you why this is more optimized for production, right? So I'm gonna clear this. Docker images. You're gonna see that we have our Node Server, our default, which is 959 megabytes. Check that out. Our Node Server tool, which is 975. But check this out. Our Node Server run, it's 161 megabytes.
Oh my God! Wow!
That is so much significantly, that's smaller. Like I said, that is so much smaller. It knocked off hundreds of megabytes off of this, which is really, really good, right? Obviously. So now let's run this. We're not running this, we're running Node Server, Node Server. All right, there it is. If we refresh this, you're gonna see that we have it. We go to slash user. There we go. And there we go, guys. We actually have three different images. Let's go here. Our default image, our Node Server tools, which could run our development mode and debugging mode, and also we also have the Node Server run, which is our production mode. Okay, which is pretty awesome, right? Now we have all these containers that we could mess around with. Now the last step, or the last thing that I do want to talk about, is tagging and version control. As you can see, our tags are latest, which is pretty bad, right? Especially if you start building off of this, right? You start creating more versions and versions. We want this tag to be like 1.1.0 or 1.0.3 or 2.1, whatever, right? And that's where tagging and versioning control comes in. The versioning control, or we're going to be using semantic versioning, okay? And that basically means that you have three numbers: the major, the minor, and the fixed level. 1.0.0, 1 being the major, 0.0 being the minor, and 0.0 being the fixed level, okay? And this is just to state the version of the image that you have created. That is it, right? So right now, obviously, this is 1.0.0. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be tagging our Node Server run to 1.0.0. So to do that, we just type in Docker tag what image you want to do that. What image do you want to tag? And that's going to be Node Server dash run. And what do you want to tag it as? Well, I want to rename it as, or tag it as Node server colon 1.0.0. Hit enter. And now if you do Docker images, you're going to see that we have node server with the tag 1.0.0. And as you can see, this is just the same Docker image. As you can see, same ID. It's just pointing to the Docker run server. That is it. But the thing is, now we tagged it, right? Now that we've tagged it, we might want to host it somewhere so that way we could share it or publish it to a remote cloud, correct? And we're going to be using Docker Hub, obviously. So if you have Docker, obviously you must have Docker Hub, okay? And you do need to log in. So Docker log in. Make sure you're authenticated, login succeeded. If you're not, it's just going to tell you for your credentials. Just plug them in and be done with it. Now, in order to save this right here to our Docker Hub, we do need to rename it one more time with our ID, Docker Hub ID. And the best way to figure that out, because I actually forgot what my Docker ID was. Just go to Docker Hub. And go to my profile. And this right here is your ID. So just copy that. Go over here and right in front of the node server, insert slash. We're going to do WDJ web dev journey slash node server 1.0.0. It basically right here is going to be telling it, okay, you want to save it in the namespace of WDJ web dev journey, whatever, right? So hit enter, hit Docker images, and now you should see this right here. Now what you could do is say Docker push and just give it that name. Let me copy it again. Copy, paste, slash node server colon 1.0.0. And there you go. It's pushing it to your namespace, which is WDJ, whatever. I already explained that. Oh man, my throat's kind of hurting a bit. Sorry. This might take a while, so I'll be back when this is done. Oh wait, it's done. Never mind, screw it. All right, clear. Let's do Docker images again because I do want to remove some stuff. Oh, by the way, if you go back over here, refresh the page, you should see there it is right there, my node server, which is pretty cool. All right. I'm going to show you how to pull from it or pull your Docker image first. So first of all, I'm actually clean up. I'm actually going to remove this one, web dev journey slash node server colon 1.0.0. There you go. And if I do Docker images, you're going to see that I don't have the web dev journey one. Now, the way you could pull your image from Docker is Docker pull, and again, your ID slash, and then whatever image you want to pull from there. Node server colon 1.0.0, and it's going to pull it down. Now, if I do Docker images, you're going to see that I have it right there, which is pretty cool, right? And obviously, the last thing I'm going to do is not node. We're going to run that image. Docker run -i-p 3000 colon 3000. And we're going to be doing web dev journey slash node server dash colon 1.0.0. And there you go. It's listening on port 3000. Refresh. Let's go to 3000. There you go. Pretty awesome, right? All right, guys, that was it for this video. We've completed our Docker files or everything related to Docker. We've created a container for production, development, and debug, and also just a default container to mess around with, I guess. So anyways, the next video, we're going to be actually deploying this to Kubernetes. So get ready for that, guys, because I know some of you guys, or actually a lot of you guys, want that video, which is coming up in the next video. But before I leave, I do want to say thank you guys for spending your time watching my videos. It does mean a lot to me, guys. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you guys for supporting me on my journey, on your journey, on everybody's journey. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video where we talk about Kubernetes. Bye.